evening, everyone. This is Kelly's channel. I am Kelly. Today we are going to talk about globalization. When I mention globalization, most people are thinking about culture, products, technology, and economy. And today I would like to talk more about economic globalization. Many economists have a positive attitude and find ways to expand their business. However, economic globalization also gives us many negative impacts. In reality, most of the companies are facing increasing competition. One of the largest impacts of globalization is debt crisis. In 1994 and 1995, Mexico had a financial crisis. Since the globalization, Mexican government opened their debt and allowed many foreign investments to borrow their money. However, the government ran into too many debts and cannot afford the investment and declared the currency was depreciated 15%.
There was such panic on the Mexican stock market that some brokers advised their clients to sell regardless of the loss. When the trading ended, the market had lost another 7% of its value. This year alone, Mexican stocks have fallen 20%. A similar loss here would equal a 750-point drop on the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
At one point, the Mexican market looked like a meltdown.
That was only one blow to Americans who had $53 billion invested in the Mexican stock market before the crisis. The peso also continued to collapse. It has lost 40% of its value to the dollar in the last 3 weeks.
As nervous foreign investors pulled money out of Mexican stocks and banks, the Mexican government began spending its dollars to buy pesos to keep their value high so Mexicans could continue to spend their way toward a better standard of living. But last month, the Mexican government ran short of dollars and the peso crashed. So did Mexico's stock market. And 92 million Mexicans, who as a nation represent America's third largest customer, had lost nearly half their purchasing power overnight. And while the president is warning of the risk to jobs, thousands of Americans have also invested up to $20 billion in Mexico's stock market. Not only Wall Street firms, but many small investors and pension plans who own shares in mutual funds that buy Mexican stocks and bonds. That puts people's savings at risk.
I can't afford to wait out for it to straighten out, which is why I had to sell my stocks.
Another important issue is economic globalization aggravates the gap between poor and rich people. As the economy globalized, the people who are rich have more opportunities and become richer, which will cause the gap become more extreme. Globalization leads richer are getting richer and poor getting poor. Globalization are largely neglect the bottom of the people. They did not participate nor benefit from the activities of globalization. According to the data, the 6 billion population pyramid separated in all over the world. There are 1 billion people live in the bottom part with under $1 per day. According to the United Nations, the people living under $1 a day is the level of poverty. Many companies have more pressure based on the economic globalization, so they want to minimize the cost and maximize their profits. So they prefer to go to the place with cheapest labor, which are poverty regions and lowest developed in ecology. Globalization will also cause the price increase, for example, the oil price. Many people don't realize the resource on our planet is limited, and factories explore more and more resources like oil, copper, and gold until they will empty. Anthropologists predict that there will be 9 billion of people on Earth until 2020. The needs we relied on will be ran off quickly. Globalization causes the resources shared with all over the world, and scarcity leads the price increase faster.
A look at the future of oil prices today as the International Energy Agency releases its World Energy Outlook. Richard Mallison joins me. He is an analyst with Energy Aspects. And Richard, we should tackle prices first. We, of course, have seen very low oil prices for some time. What did we learn about where prices are going in this report?
Well, this is the long-term forecasting arm of the IEA. And their outlook in their kind of central projection scenario is that we're only going to see oil prices gradually recover. It's going to take the rest of this decade to get up to about $80 a barrel, which is still going to be below the plus of $100 that we saw in the last few years. And then they're going to continue rising through the next couple of decades because oil demand is still growing. But they see that being a long and slow rebalancing process.
Akio Morita, the co-founder of Sony, said, "Think globally, act locally. There will be no absolute positive or negative in globalization. So we need to open our mind to embrace the globalization in economic, and there will be many benefits from economic globalization, such as more choices from the markets. But we should also protect our society. At the same time we are getting the chances from globalization, we should also think about the rules of globalization." Thanks for watching.